more adoption of science, technology, and innovation. We know that our firms, when they embrace more cloud-based applications and services, are more productive and will make more money and be more profitable than those that don't. That's why our Investment Boost product is designed to help support those companies embracing more technology as well. We know that for our public service, there is a huge amount of work to be done to digitise government, and we've just kicked off that work, but we've got a lot more to do in that regard to make our public service behave as large service organisations with customers who happen to be the public of New Zealand, and be able to serve them infinitely better with technology, as we see in the private sector being deployed in that way as well. With that, happy to take your questions. Sorry, we're going here. Thanks.
7,000 jobs have been promised.
Yep.
10,000 by the end of the year that people will be trained. How can you guarantee that those jobs will go to New Zealanders and not people coming from overseas?
Well, there's a huge amount of talent, technical talent here in New Zealand. If you look at what's happened over the last 2 years with the startup community, entrepreneurs coming out of the universities, whether it's in advanced aerospace and aviation out of Canterbury, out of the engineering school there, whether it's what we're seeing here with Icehouse here in Auckland. What you're seeing with AWS is they've made a commitment to train 100,000 Kiwis in the skills that they need as well. They've made a decision to boost that by another 10,000 before Christmas, which is fantastic. But again, we've got all the talent here. I mean, I spend a lot of time offshore. I spend a lot of time in the tech community here in New Zealand. It's sophisticated, it's grown tremendously. There are Kiwis now that understand they can launch global businesses from New Zealand. So no, we've got every ability that we can grow that talent here in New Zealand. But the other thing we have to do, and that's why it's linked to the other part of the agenda, which is we've got to get our kids to school. We've got to teach them to read and to be able to do maths well. That's why we've got a big focus on those back to basics, so that they can actually access the high paying jobs that are in sectors and industries exactly like this.
Do you think Jeff Bezos will want to buy a house here?
Sorry?
Do you think Jeff Bezos will want to buy a house here now?
I've got no idea. Again, what we're doing is we're making sure that if you've come and invested $10 or $15 million, that actually you can buy a house of $5 million or more. We know that will appeal to hundreds, maybe early thousands of New Zealanders. But it's not it's something that's reasonable. If you're going to spend that amount of money and put that amount of money into businesses here in New Zealand, and you saw it yesterday. If you're against investment like this, there's a problem, because there was a company started by a young Kiwi who built that SaaS company with his marine software. His parents put their money in. He got $3 million from overseas investors through the active investor visa. And what was the first answer he's going to do with the $3 million? Employ more people, take on more jobs. Zane, hang on, we'll get round. Would you listen to order, Zane?
Yep. Simpkins says that you're promoting something that the previous government announced in 2021. Do you accept that?
I know. I've acknowledged that there's been a piece of work that's been in progress, I think, since 2021. It's just that it's been launched live today, and I was just drawing attention to the fact that it's a significant investment. We also have conversations happening since our infrastructure summit with many other international investors as well, areas around data centres, areas around public infrastructure as well. But no, this has been coming for some time. I've been very upfront about that, but I'm just excited the fact that here is an example of what we want to see a lot of. And the reason we set up Invest New Zealand, as I said with my remarks, was to make sure that actually we can attract and actually concierge service more investment like this into New Zealand. These companies like AWS, but many others, many of the other infrastructure firms that we've been dealing with. Think about Brookfield and the $1 billion they put into the Ruakura Super Hub. They have choices to go invest in 195 countries around the world. It's a competitive business, and so that's why we formed Invest New Zealand, so that we can actually have that hand-holding experience as they come into our country and put money into it. Sorry, Amelia.
Yeah, thank you. The investment amount isn't new, the jobs amount isn't new, the GDP figure isn't new, that's all 4 years old. So you're just making this re-announcement because you're desperate for wins?
No, I'm here because I'm supporting something that's really great for New Zealand. Today's the day it launches. That's why we've got an expo here with a lot of partners from AWS that can now use these cloud services, and that's what I'm doing. So that's what I've said this morning in my remarks is, isn't it great? We've got a company that's invested $7.5 billion. It's been over a number of years, I agree. I'm not disputing that. I'm quite relaxed about that. But I'm celebrating the fact that we've got a big international investor here in New Zealand, and that's what we want to see a lot more of. And that's been consistent with the gestalt of this government, or the focus of this government, which is to welcome investment to this country because it drives jobs and creates higher paying jobs.
So what have you actually done to attract this investment, like your government?
Well, we have supported through our Invest New Zealand, through the work that we've done attracting, say, Brookfield to build infrastructure projects down in Waikato with Waikato Tainui. Think about the 3 bids that we have already of international investors that want to build the road from Auckland up to Whangarei, a number of other investment bids that we are processing as a government right now. And obviously what we're doing here is making it supportive going forward. The learning out of AWS is, man, it's more expensive to build in New Zealand. The resource management consent took a long time. It was very expensive, probably 20% more expensive than what they experience in Australia. And of course that's why we're changing our Resource Management Planning Acts to support that too.
Prime Minister, what are the concerns regarding energy use and the impact that this big new tech thing might have on our grid?
Yeah, in this case, AWS has powered this through a partnership with Mercury, with renewable energy, wind farm. It's about half the production that comes off that wind farm comes to power up the data centres through AWS. But that's a big opportunity for New Zealand. We're already 85% renewable energy. We're about the top 10 in the world. We need gas, obviously, to infill the bit that we can't move through to renewables. Having said that, we need to double the quantum of renewables in its entirety. Our fast-track legislation had a 30% growth in the generation of renewable electricity, which is important, but we've got to keep making it easier to get things done. It shouldn't take 8 years to consent a wind farm, 2 years to build it before you get the benefit of it. We need to make that much, much quicker. So, we want to accelerate and double the amount of renewable energy. We obviously need to open up gas so that we've got that certainty, so that we don't lose the lights and drive high energy prices into the system. So there's a bit of work to do there. Yep.
So these guys require 100% renewable energy from partly data centers. They don't open anywhere where they don't get it. So why isn't the way to encourage more of this type of investment to move to a higher percentage of renewable energy, higher percentage?
Well, that's why we're being, I've had a number of bids and conversations already with large firms that wanting to expand and put data centres and essentially have clean green data exported from New Zealand around the world. And those conversations will obviously continue. But that is because we are attractive at 85 to 87%, thanks to hydro investments from many years ago, subsequent infilling of solar, wind and geothermal. New Zealand is attractive as a renewable energy destination. And most of my meetings with leaders around the world, when we talk about economic growth, they're running with maybe 20 to 40% renewables if they're lucky, right? So we know that we can double our supply. We know already on our fast track we had a 30% growth in generation of renewable electricity. We know that we can do a lot of things about making the planning and the consenting process infinitely easier for firms to be able to access renewable energy. So I think we're well positioned.
So these data centres, sustainability.
Yes.
The ACT Party today said that they would like to leave the Paris Climate Agreement if it's not watered down. Is that something that you would support?
I haven't seen ACT policy or remarks today. Obviously, I've been doing some other things, but our position, as I've outlined in recent months, is our government's position is we're not leaving Paris. It would only damage and punish and hurt our farmers. We actually are not up for that. And the reason it would damage, hurt and punish them is because our competitor countries would like nothing more than to see New Zealand products off their shelves. And I'm telling you, having worked in large multinationals, they'll just move to another supplier anyway. So that would be the fastest, quickest way pulling out of Paris now to hurt New Zealand farmers. As you know, we've taken farming out of the ETS. We very, very shortly we'll have more to say about methane targets particularly, and we'll talk about that but very, very shortly.
So would you say these data centres, would you say they're not going to increase electricity prices for Kiwis?
No, I think there's a way where we want to flood New Zealand. Our vision has to be affordable, abundant electricity in this country. We have endless natural resources. There should be no reasons why we cannot get more electricity built in New Zealand. You've got a government now that's identified the root cause of the problem. Two things. The oil and gas ban, a lovely bumper sticker from the previous government, but didn't think through second, third order consequences, which put huge pressure into our wholesale prices, as you saw last year. And the second issue is actually our planning and our consenting processes. Even AWS said to me, Chris, privately, it was 20 to 30% more expensive to build this facility here in New Zealand than it was in Australia. And that is because our resource planning times, our consent times have doubled. The cost has doubled. It's $1.2 billion a year now spent on resource consents. And that's why fast track matters. That's why a complete overhaul and retooling of the Resource Management Act by the end of the year matters as well.
Prime Minister, on the foreign buyer changes, are you comfortable with the lack of public submissions?
Sorry?
Are you comfortable with the lack of public submissions on the new foreign buyer changes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got wealthy individuals, as you know, 300 to date, that have come and spent almost $2 billion into the New Zealand economy that we didn't have pre-April 1 this year. They are transforming and they are helping New Zealand businesses grow. You saw two companies yesterday, one that is actually going to hire more people because of that influx of investment that's come from those investors, another company that's going to open up a whole new part of its business in the USA, selling its products to Americans because of that investment as well. So it's only right that they can, that they can buy a house. The houses we're talking about, as I said, out of the 1.9 million houses in New Zealand, only 10,000 are worth more than $5 million. 80% of them are essentially in Auckland, 10% are essentially in Queenstown. So it's a pretty small group that we're talking about. But anything that encourages investment, that creates jobs and higher incomes, and ultimately sets Kiwi kids up for a future with higher paying jobs than what they have today, that's what I'm up for.
Sorry, technicality on the foreign investment houses policy. Is that $5 million flexible? So as the market increases, the average house price increases, will you to governments be able to increase the minimum amount?
Oh, I see.
Or is that like sort of set in legislation that once it's set at $5 million, that's it, or is that something that can be changed as?
It's not something we've talked about, initially, but our expectation is yes, it would be quite easy to inflation adjust, for example, the amount if that was an issue. I think what we're saying is that. I think the National Party policy was too low a threshold, relative to the average house price in New Zealand, and I think we've found the right balance. And when you talk to, you've got to think almost half the applicants we've had so far have come from America. When you think about the exchange rates, $5 million is a lot of money for New Zealanders, but it's not necessarily a lot of money for these individuals, and some of them will want to build, 10, 20, 30, $40 million houses as well.
Prime Minister, the 1,000 jobs that have been opened up through this new scheme, are those high-paying jobs, or those low labourist jobs? What kind of jobs are those? Are they in the tech sector?
They're really high-paying jobs, and it's the flow-on effect, right? It's the fact that I've met a number of small New Zealand firms now that have got access to world-class cloud storage. That means they've got security around their data, which means they can now go get customers they previously wouldn't have been able to access because AWS comes with a standard of essentially a standard around security that actually helps those businesses grow their own companies.
And those all those jobs will definitely be going to Kiwis.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, we honestly have a huge amount of potential. But again, this is why when 80% of New Zealand kids are not arriving at high school at the standard they need to be at on mathematics, the reason we've been so hot on that, the reason I've been on that case from day one with Erica Stanford is the reason is we want them to be able to get their skills to such a point of view that if you've got good reading and math skills, you can take on a high-paying job. Because in 20 years' time, in 10 years' time, we want there is millions of high-paying jobs out there in the world, and we want them coming to New Zealand. And they only come to New Zealand when you have investments like this. Otherwise, we just carry on running the show like we've run it for many, many years. Sorry, Zane.
But on the topic of technology, there's this scam on Facebook, and it's a video of you doing a fake interview with Q&A, and it says that on this platform you earned $45,000. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen a number of things over a number of years, even before I came to politics, where my likeness might be used on a Facebook pushing a particular scam. Where we see them, we raise them very quickly with the social media companies, and but also as necessary with police as otherwise.
Are you satisfied with what Meta is doing to counter these fake videos and using people like yourself like this to trick people into investing money?
Yeah, look, I mean, we raise them with them as quickly as possible. They have their own tools for identifying it as well. As I've said in the instances that I've been involved with, but I know it's not just me. There's other public figures that are used, sports stars, broadcasting people as well, that often are used in scams to push things. We get onto it pretty quickly. Oh, what, sorry, mate? Yeah, look, that's a real shame. It's a great Christchurch company that's existed for a long period of time, and I know it's been a difficult time for them in particular. It's a difficult time for retail, the combination of what's transitioned in New Zealand with online shopping relative to bricks and mortar. Many retailers are wrestling with that, not just in New Zealand, but all around the world. And so, my thoughts are really much with those workers, because it's been a Kiwi company from Christchurch. It's done, had its challenges over a number of decades, to be honest, but has, sad news.
Is it correct?
Sorry?
Are you comfortable with the you're not being told about the FBI sitting up here until just 6 days before they landed?
Oh, absolutely. The FBI has been here since 2017. We do a lot of work with them around transnational organised crime. We've got a lot of work to do around drugs and the importation of drugs into the Pacific and into New Zealand, and so they're a critical partner for us. So I'm completely relaxed about that.
But the most recent presence, you weren't told about that until 6 step before, is that right?
Yeah, completely fine. Yeah, I mean, the FBI's been here for a long time. We partner with them on a range of transnational organised crime issues, as I said, and the fact that they've beefed up their office here is a good thing. Yeah.
Is it correct to call this $7.5 billion investment, given part of it is the energy bill or the operating costs?
I'm referencing what has been announced before, and I'm just saying it's a big investment for a company like this to make. It's the biggest technology investment I can think of any technology firm that's made in New Zealand. I think there will be others. I know there will be others coming, but it's a good day. It's a good level of investment. To have AWS in New Zealand with only before being available in Sydney, Melbourne, and maybe not that many other countries, I think it's a good day.
Last couple of guys.
Sorry?
Are you comfortable with Minister Van Balen's comments this morning regarding the appointments to the Employment Relations Authority?
Yeah, look, the minister understands that she and all ministers need to respect the independence of the Employment Relations Authority. The Attorney General has discussed that with her personally, and I also asked the Attorney General to make that point very clear to all ministers in Cabinet as well.
What do you think about her comment saying that some people think that money grows on trees and they're not experiencing it?
Well, I think all I'm saying to you is the people who are appointed to the ERA are independent. It's an independent body. They are quite capable of doing an excellent job adjudicating claims, and people who have matters before the ERA expect them to do so. As I said, with respect to her earlier comments from I think a week and a half ago, Judith Collins as Attorney General has spoken to her, but I also asked Judith to speak to the whole of Cabinet to remind them of their obligations as well.
Do you think it's just another example of government ministers undermining the institutions in New Zealand? Are you slowly eroding trust in the institutions that New Zealanders should have confidence in, like the Reserve Bank, the Judiciary, the ERA?
No.
Do you think that the ERA had too many people in it that only had sector experience?
I think people who are appointed to the ERA are highly qualified, highly skilled, total professionals, and they are quite capable of acting independently and adjudicating on those cases. The issue here is that we do not want any ministerial comments that undermine the independence of the ERA. The Minister understands that. Judith Collins has made that clear to her, but I also asked her to make it very clear to all my ministers as well in Cabinet.
Alrighty guys, last one here.
On the jobs question, in your conversations with AWS, did they give you any indication of when those jobs will be created? We've obviously got a lot of Kiwis at the moment that they're keen on a job here, so do you know when they might?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to go around and talk to some of the exhibitors here and meet some of the businesses that are here and the kind of people that start this are in the tech sector in New Zealand. It's a pretty exciting sector. As you've seen around the world, our export services are growing faster than our goods even, and a lot of it is tech companies that are doing really well in Europe and North America and other places. So those jobs are going to come, but also I think what's been really great is AWS are also upskilling New Zealanders, so they actually have the full tool set that is available to people, whether they're in Illinois or whether they're in London, to know that our tech people can be as skilled as anywhere else in the world and get upskilled with the tools that AWS can provide. Okay, team, thanks so much. Sorry, Aaron. On what? Yep. Well, I'm sure Meta can talk for themselves when issues are raised with them, as any good large corporation should be able to do. And if there's a further issue, the Minister can get involved with it. But it's not something I've been briefed on personally.
Alrighty, thanks,
okay,
guys.
thanks team. All right, see ya. Have a good day.